This weekend on the original Rochester Press Box.
I'm Dan Moriarty. We're a week away from the Super Bowl, and the worst part about it is all this lead up and talk about Deflate-Gate.
I'm John Ditullio. Righting or wrong? I'll explain.
And I'm Mike Catalana. Christmas has finally arrived.
And I'm Bill Pucko. Deflating football is more pathetic than anything. Join us this weekend on the original Rochester Press Box. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the original Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you, along with John Ditullio from Fox 1280 Sports.
It's close enough. It's close enough.
What is it exactly?
Fox Sports 1280, Ra-cha-cha.
All right, well, see if people would know exactly what it is, and they know you.
Billy, as long as you get the neighborhood, as long as you're like a block away, you get the pass.
Mike Catalana from the former WHAM television.
13 WHAM, and I checked in my vehicle today, all four tires perfectly inflated.
Very nice. Ready to go. All right, we'll get to that. And Dan Moriarty joins us again. John's sidekick on WHTK. Good to have you back.
Yeah, John Station.
John Station.
The Ditullio Station.
Like that's where, yeah, we're gonna. That's not a bad. We'll come up. We may rename that station.
Well,
Throw
I'm
Danny
glad,
and I in the call
the
letters.
atmosphere is light because this is such a serious topic, as Danny is. We lead off with what to make of the deflated footballs, which has occupied the week prior to the week prior to the Super Bowl. What do you make of all of it?
First of all, I'm glad it happened in a 45-7 game, because I think if it was 45-43, we're having all sorts of different discussions this week. How much of an advantage was it? Did they win the game because of it? Clearly they didn't. They smoked Indianapolis. They smoked them in the regular season. So that was the first thing I thought of. I'm glad it was a blowout. It had no impact on who won the football game. Did it maybe aid them a little bit? Yeah, maybe. There's a reason why they did it. They wouldn't have done it if it wasn't helping them. So, yeah, it helped them, but it didn't win them the game. So that was the first thing I thought of this morning, was when the news came out that 11 out of the 12 were inflated. I'm glad the game wasn't close.
There was one good one. Give him some credit.
Yeah, one good football.
They didn't get a chance to get to that one. It's called Deflate-Gate, right? Everybody's talking about it because everything's named after Watergate. So go way back before his time. Nixon would have won that election easily, right? Mm-hmm. But he cheated. And then, of course, there's cover-up and all the things that go with it.
That's what always got me about that. The biggest tragedy of Watergate, to go way back and probably before anybody else except you and I were knocking around, is that he had that election in the bag.
So you
he didn't have to try to rig it.
So make the argument then that Belichick had that game. I mean, they dominate the Colts. That's why this, to me, I'm with Dan. This isn't about that game. They would have won that game. Play with a beach ball, a Nerf ball. It doesn't make any difference. They're winning that game. But it does, and then there'll be maybe more evidence coming out as this week goes on. It does show there was a concerted effort to cheat. It is cheating, I would say. The ref checks the balls, and then you alter them before you take the field. Now we're going to hear that other teams do it, guys have done whatever they're going to say. But the Patriots have a history, and I think that's the biggest part of it.
If this was a PED problem, we wouldn't be talking about it. There's something about integrity and sportsmanship that bothers all of us once you cross that line. You look at the past issues of Bill Belichick. 2 weeks ago, Don Shula called him Bill Belichick. I mean, his reputation is on the line. This will be his second major offense. Not major, but second offense. And who else they may find? You're looking at suspension, draft picks, and possibly a fine on the heels of the Super Bowl. This couldn't have come at a worse time. And all the anti-Belichick people and Brady are now just piling on because they feel this has been going on since Super Bowl 36 when they spied on the Rams the night before the game. This has been a problem that people will say has been existing now for 14 years.
Not just, like a worse time, I think, on the calendar, but it's the fact that the NFL, especially after the year it had, is really sensitive to stuff going wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, there's angst. This is not, they don't need extra attention for the Super Bowl, and especially this type of an attention. And I do hear people, and, we talk, some national guys, and they try to equate it with breaking rules in a game. This isn't holding in a football game. No. This is not the phantom tag at second base. This is, it goes on. If I'm not a big NASCAR guy to understand it, but it goes on in NASCAR too, right? They check a vehicle, it's confirmed, it's ready to go, and then sometimes guys will go in and cheat, and then they get caught afterward. And the punishments are pretty heavy in that. Points, fines, maybe lose a winning of a race. I think this is it. There's a time frame there. The balls are accurate, they're good, they're equal, they're fair, and then you change them for your advantage.
No Chuck rule with Brady. Now you got the Brady hit below the knee, and you don't tell me Tom Brady didn't know this was going on. Their star quarterback likes a deflated ball. Oh, let's deflate some balls to appease our quarterback.
He mentioned that on the air on Boston radio
And
about 3 years ago. Yeah. About how he likes a deflated football.
He likes a deflated football.
It's how he likes to throw the ball.
As do most quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, outside of Johnny Boy, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, he wasn't letting out any secrets.
Because when you got a rocket for an arm,
now there's still some things I guess to find out about this. But I hope for the sake of the Super Bowl that all this stuff can kind of get put at least in the background next week, so that we can kind of focus on what should be a spectacular game. Doug Marrone gets a job. We're back with the original Rochester Press Box right after this. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Bill with John, Mike, and Danny. Doug Marrone, I said this at the end of the show last week, my unfinished business, and I used the term overplayed his hand. And I think the media has kind of caught on to this as far as Doug Marrone is concerned. He got himself a job. Probably not the one he wanted, huh, Mike?
Yeah, it was interesting. Leo Roth made a point in the Democrat Chronicle saying that Doug Marrone, in his mind, is more comfortable being an offensive line coach in that way. And I agree with that part. I agree with it. But he wanted the other part, too. He wanted the money, he wanted the title, and he's got the ego that goes with being a head coach. So he is absolutely settled for being an O-line coach. There is no question. If he would have been done with the Bills, took his money, walked away, and said, I'm not going to coach or maybe come back and do something I need this year, and taken this job, I would feel differently. But he interviewed for the Jets, thought he had it, interviewed with the Bears, interviewed with the Falcons, was set to interview with the Broncos. He absolutely believed he was getting a head coaching job. And I keep telling fans, he got paid. Sure, he got paid. If he'd have gotten fired, he would have gotten paid. He now looks like a coach who got fired by the Bills, got his money, but surfaced as an O-line coach and is trying to build his career back up again.
Does this stick with him?
It has to. I use the word blackballed. Maybe that's a little strong. But when you quit on an owner who just paid $1.4 billion for this team, you quit on your players, didn't even have the guts to tell your players, you going to hire that guy? I'm not hiring that guy. We heard he interviewed poorly with the Jets. As Mike mentioned, look at all the high-profile jobs that were out there.
Yeah.
The Bears, the Falcons, the Broncos job, the Jets job. The Niners even give him a sniff, nor did the Raiders. I mean, there were some high-profile jobs. He didn't get one of them. You're telling me he's going to be a head coach next year? No way.
And look at the guys who got hired.
Yeah,
Thank you. Jim Tomsula is a D-line. That's a Bills hire, isn't it? Promote the D-line coach and make him your head coach. Bring Gary Kubiak back, who was a failed guy before. Todd Bowles, a first-time head coach. It wasn't like, Chip Kelly and Urban Meyer were coming from the college ranks and John Gruden wanted to come back. It wasn't a big pool of coaches.
Danny, even the next level, the coordinators, Chan Gailey got a job, and Doug was passed over for those, too.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he settles for an offensive line coach, and I got to wait and see how it plays out, though. If he ends up getting another head coaching job, he did get his $4 million, so we'll see down the line. If the Bills end up being the last, at least, NFL job he ever gets, clearly he made a horrible decision doing what he did. But if he gets another job down the line, then maybe it doesn't work out horrible for him, because if he would have gone in with the Bills next season, gotten paid the same amount that he would have if he left, which he got the $4 million, they lose, he gets fired, maybe he never gets an NFL job anyway. So Looking at it long term, I'm going to have to wait and see what ends up happening to him down the line. But if he ends up being an assistant head coach, offensive line coach, and that's about as good as he gets in terms of an NFL gig, I mean, I think he can always go back to Syracuse. But at this point, I don't know if he's going to get a head coaching job. If he doesn't, he made a horrible decision. There's only 32 of those to be had. He had one. He gave it up.
Yeah.
We have exact evidence of the exact same thing with Mike Mularkey, right?
Yes.
He quit on a 9-win team. Now, the Bills franchise was in more of disarray, but he quit, ended up getting a coordinator's job. It took him, 7 years to get a head coaching job?
Lasted 1 year.
1 year, and he was done again. What's he going to do with the O-line in Jacksonville? I think he's got to work himself back up to coordinator and then try to get
For the
the job
record, the
again.
Jaguars going to about 5 games next year. I don't think I'm plucking a coordinator off a 5-win team.
Well, and
That's
is he a
just
good
me.
coordinator? We haven't seen him call plays.
Yeah, and
he didn't even call plays in New Orleans when he was the offensive
The
coordinator.
last time I checked, the Bills' offensive line wasn't that good either.
And he's with Gus Bradley, who might very well be getting fired at the end of this year.
Thank you.
And the whole staff could be out. So not exactly a great situation
Yeah,
for him.
maybe that's his in. Like it or not, with the Distillery, when we return.
And you don't need to be Native American to realize it is offensive. And it's not politically correct. It's the right thing to do.
He was an idiot for throwing him that pitch. The guy's phenomenal. He had no reason to give him anything, especially a fastball to hit.
It's simply that these two guys, Ronaldo and Tom Brady, are too good looking.
I like it, just don't admit to it.
Everybody wants to hate on the best in the world. You know, he's here to stay, and he wants to build something big time.
The bottom line is, still nobody's going to like A-Rod.
This segment of the Rochester Press Box is brought to you by The Distillery. 4 convenient locations, The Distillery, your choice destination for Sunday brunch with great food and drink specials, plus all of the games. The Distillery, a Best of Rochester award winner. Tap into good times at The Distillery. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. This portion of the Press Box brought to you by The Distillery, where they'll be open at 11 o'clock a.m. again on Super Bowl Sunday for a 6:30 kickoff, which is pretty impressive. 2-for-1 margaritas, 2-for-1 Bloody Marys. They'll have the brunch menu out there. You can get a pizza, and you can get your pint beers for $7.49. Not a bad deal.
Wait till next year when the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, the Distillery. will
Home
be
of the
rocking.
Eagles' nest. It's saying they're meeting there. You just wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
Like it or not, Danny, this week brings us the Pro Bowl in its new format. What do you think?
I couldn't tell you if I liked it or if I didn't like it because I've never watched it. I've never once watched the Pro Bowl. I've seen the highlights because a couple years ago it was big news when the players didn't really even play. There was that great clip of them basically like dancing with each other, the offense and defensive linemen, and whether the game had become such a sham that they should eventually get rid of it. So that's about all I've ever seen of it. I could care less about it. I don't care that these guys don't play. Many of them have backed out to the point where Andy Dalton is now a Pro Bowl quarterback, which tells you a lot about this game. Nice. And I won't be watching it this week either.
Because it gets
people
ratings.
people watch it. I don't know who they are because I've never met that person, but people are watching it. It does get TV ratings. I'm just not one of them.
Since Brian Moorman got hit on the sideline, it's the last play I remember.
Yeah, it was. And that was Sean Taylor, the late Sean Taylor, who hit him hard in that game. Yeah, I don't like the game. I honestly wish, and it does do well in numbers, I honestly wish the game was more of, or they did some sort of skills competition or something and did something fun with the fans and made it almost that type of thing. Guys would show up, they're there, have them out on the field, interacting with fans, doing certain things, the fastest guy, something where there's not contact, guys getting hit, even on that limited basis. I mean, you have guys who are contracts are up. Why would you play in that game if you're a free agent? You're dumb. I would say you're dumb to play in that game and potentially do something, because we've seen it happen with no contact. I don't like the game. I wish they would do something else.
Johnny, like it or not, you're our resident foodie here. Like it or not, the must-have food for a football party. From experience, what's the go-to?
Manwich for me. I've been having manwich probably 25 years. That's for me. That's number one. Then you go pizza, pasta, mac and cheese. We broadened it, but it starts with manwich, and that is your ground zero, so to speak, of food, and then you surround it.
Which is the sloppy Joe, right? Same thing?
Well, that's a little bit different. That's your quarterback. The manwich is your Aaron Rodgers. Then you build around Rodgers. You build around the manwich.
You know, I wanted, it had been my intent, because I wanted to do the experiment, is to bring sushi into John's party, just to see if anyone would touch it.
Well, there
I
were
still
some-
maintain, and especially because when you're planning a Super Bowl party, there's going to be a higher percentage of women than are there at your ordinary football party. I think sushi steps it up.
Oh, stop.
It is finger food, so it's
Yeah.
easy to eat.
Let-
It's easy
okay,
to
bring
go
it
and grab
next year. You,
Mike,
I
come
have
on,
vegetable
Mike.
sushi. I have vegetable sushi. You know, I
but
like the fish,
Championship
but-
Sunday.
Oh no!
Yeah, come on.
That's like that gets just run away. I mean, you can't compete
You
with
may
what
be
he
barred for the second game if you bring sushi. You get to watch one game.
The reason you like the manwich
I
is
have
because
tenure.
it complements basically everything you eat. He pours it all over whatever
I'll
he's
tell my
eating.
quick sushi story. Years of going to the Vet in Philly, one of the worst places. Pizza and hot dogs, about all they had. I went to my first game at the Link. I'm meeting my family at the game. I walk in, and I'm walking behind a guy who's carrying a tray of sushi in Philly.
Well, you lost that game. You
did lose.
Yeah, absolutely. You had
NFC
to.
Championship game after he'd beaten the Packers, lost to the Carolina Panthers. Guys eating sushi.
like it or not, brought to you by our friends at the Distillery, where you can also go and have a great Super Bowl party.
No sushi.
Unfinished business is next. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Unfinished business. John.
You know, just a week ago, Joe Paterno had his wins restored by the NCAA. This doesn't absolve Paterno or Penn State from the Jerry Sandusky scandal, but what it does is right or wrong in terms of the NCAA having any type of business taking wins away from head coach Joe Paterno, an iconic figure at that university and a coaching icon in college football. He is and will always be the all-time winningest coach. The NCAA had no business stepping in and taking away those wins stemming from 1998 to 2011. Were they under pressure? Did they fear a lawsuit? Absolutely they did. Was it to quiet down the Paterno family? Yes, the NCAA caved in pressure of a lawsuit and the pressure of the lawsuit coming from the Paterno family and from the university. That never should have happened 3 years or 2 years ago. It would have helped had Dr. Emmerich and everybody from the NCAA read the free report, which I don't want to get off on, which was flawed as well. This doesn't absolve Paterno and Penn State from what happened 3 years ago, but as I said, it does right or wrong. It restores Joe Paterno as the all-time winningest coach in Penn State history and, more importantly, college football history.
Everyone wants to know what becomes of the statue.
The statue, as far as I'm concerned, if you want to completely mend the entire Penn State family, that statue better be up in 2 years because the family of Penn State is still fractured. And a lot of it had to do with that statue coming back. If they want to mend everybody and the healing process be complete, that statue better be up in about, I'll give them within 2 to 3 years to put it back up.
It's a whole show in itself. I'm going to tackle that at a future date. Dan,
Sure.
what do you got?
Well, for me, the worst part about the Super Bowl is the 2-week lead up to the Super Bowl because the talk just gets obnoxious and annoying, and I'm already tired of it. Whether it's this Deflate-Gate story or with the profession me and Johnny are in, talking to the fans on a daily basis, the people complaining about the matchup. If you watch the games this year, these are the two best teams in the league, at least the best team in the NFC, best team in the AFC. If you're a football fan, you couldn't have asked for a better Super Bowl matchup. And all I keep hearing about is, well, I don't know who to root for. I hate both teams. Who cares? It's the best matchup we could have asked for. If you love football, you're going to love the game. Root against both teams. Root for both teams. I don't care who you root for. You're going to watch the game as much as you keep saying that you're not going to. You couldn't have asked for a better game. We all know you're going to watch. You watch the college football playoffs. There's a lot of teams that we hate in that. We all watch the NFL playoffs. You're all going to watch come Super Bowl Sunday. I'm just looking forward to this Sunday and getting past all this garbage talk. I'm already tired of Deflate-Gate.
You know, it's all right. And it's one of those things I think that separates football because it's not regional. It matters who plays in the World Series. Ordinarily, it doesn't matter who plays in the Super Bowl. And the fact is, like you said, for the first time, it doesn't happen very often. The two number one teams are there, and they promise a great game.
I think Rodgers-Brady would have been a better Super Bowl. I think people would have, I don't know, Seattle, left coast, east coast. I think Brady versus
Well, you always
Rodgers.
say you need a villain. And in this case, we've got
Although historically,
we've got two
Brady
villains.
going for his fourth, Seattle going for back-to-back.
Yeah.
Even if this is a blowout, people are going to remember this game for the rest of the history of the NFL because of its importance in terms of legacies for both these teams.
Yeah, Mike.
Well, it's important, too. If the Patriots lose, they'll have more Super Bowl losses than the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, that would be critical.
Yeah, that would be critical. Hey, speaking of critical, as Dan knows, I've been critical at times of Syracuse basketball, and maybe even the guy who runs the show there. And let's be honest, this is an NIT team this year, or maybe barely making it into the tournament. Because while they've shown some flashes in certain games and even had some exciting games, that stretch of games they're going to play to close this season would be a minefield for Duke or Louisville or Carolina or anybody. So let's see how they make it through the year. But I have been impressed by one person, one thing this year on that team, and that's Raheem Christmas. That kid has gone from, I believe, an average college basketball player to a first-round pick in the NBA, which I think he's going to be. I've never seen a guy who's played as much as he has through 3 years of college make the leap from junior to senior year to become that much better of a player as Christmas has. It's been hard work. I guess some credit goes to the coaching staff, but I think it's a lot of what he did in the offseason. He is now a viable player of the year candidate. He's been great. He's been carrying this team, and it's good for him because he had a lot of expectations coming in. It's finally been fulfilled for him by his senior year, and I think he's going to play in the NBA next year.
Yeah, it is really a remarkable story. The fact that he's playing as a senior at all, because so many of the underclassmen dominate the game. I have this irrational need to try to get people to appreciate what the New England Patriots have accomplished over the last 20 years or so, and it's an uphill battle. The thing is about the Super Bowl, this is about legacy. It's about, winning Super Bowls, being in Super Bowls, greatest team of a generation, all the rest of it, which makes this whole thing about these deflated footballs just awful. So much has been risked for so little. As a guy who's gone his entire life rooting for the New England Patriots, the situation is absolutely pathetic. We'd like to thank the Distillery for helping us sponsor here on the original Rochester Press Box. We appreciate that participation, as we do John Ditullio every week.
Billy's great
John,
being
thank
here
you.
with you.
Mike?
Always is.
Pleasure to be back.
Appreciate those jabs every once in a while, the New England,
Hey, you got to have something,
You
right?
got to.
See, that gives people something to root for.
And Dan Moriarty. Thanks again. Good having you, man.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next week on the original Rochester Press Box.